With millions of individual installations in the United States using hundreds of millions of solar panels, the US solar industry is really on the clock to figure out and perfect the solar recycling process. According to the Department of Energy, more than 70% of all active solar in the United States has been installed since 2017. And with an active usual operating lifetime of 30 to 35 years, that means by 2050, there's going to be an enormous amount of panels coming off of the roof and needing to be decommissioned. Now, that process for recycling, can they actually be recycled? Well, the short answer is yes, but it's important to look at the entire process where this might need efficiency. So let's dive in and take a look at solar panel recycling. Before we do all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Now, in order to understand the recycling process, it's kind of helpful to understand the actual anatomy of a solar panel. What is it actually made up of? So, thankfully, we're going to focus on just traditional silicon PV modules. You can get a little more complicated when we start talking thin film or some of the more unique technologies out there. But for your traditional solar panel, which is going to make up probably about 95% of all the solar panels out there, the components are actually fairly standard. So when you come to a panel, first of all, you've got the frame on the outside. That's an aluminum frame typically. Next is the glass. They use a tempered low iron glass on solar panels. Now it's low iron because it has a much higher transparency level. And you need that for windows or solar panels, somewhere you're going to need more light to be able to come through. After that, you also have solar cells. All the individual solar cells are soldered together to make the whole solar panel. And those cells are then encapsulated in an encapsulation film. Oftentimes, this is resin or another type of plastic coating that's not going to deflect that much sunlight. It is still going to keep all the components safe. You've also then got a backsheet on these panels, which adds some aesthetic value, being white or black. So your panels can be like an all black look or black with maybe white, or the older school blue with the white background as well. And then you've also got a junction box on the back, which is a plastic box with some copper wires coming out of it. So in terms of what can and can't be recycled from a solar panel, it's actually thankful that most of the panel is made up of materials we already really know how to recycle pretty well. So about 75% of the total weight of the solar panel is estimated to be in the glass. Now, glass recycling is something that the United States has been doing for a very long time. There's a huge industry already for it. Now, another 10% of the panel is estimated to be made up of just the aluminum frame. Of course, aluminum, easy metal like that. If you remember ever throwing off your trash cans when you were a kid, you can just melt down that aluminum and recycle it. Now, what about the rest of it? Well, it gets a little more tricky from there. First, you have to remove the encapsulation film to be able to access all of the other components. Now, that film, being a resin or a polycarbonate, needs to be heated. And typically, these are heated up to about 500 degrees Celsius or about 932 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the plastic on the outside is going to melt off. And a lot of that is just going to kind of be released. So unfortunately, that's a place where there's not really a great method to remove that in an easier way, but somewhere for there to be opportunity to. Once that is all melted away, you then have access to the solar cells. Now, the cells themselves can be broken off using either mechanical methods. You can physically break them in shattered pieces to melt down. Or there's also acid that can be used to etch out the panels, or the cells, I should say, and then would kind of melt away the cells. So you can reuse it, and then you have to filter out the acid so you could try and reutilize them. There are other components inside those cells, though, which are a little bit more toxic that need to be handled a lot more carefully. Those solar cells are soldered together, and that solder is typically made of lead. Now, lead is, of course, a heavy toxic metal, so it's really important that that's filtered out really well so that it doesn't end up in a landfill somewhere. Now, solar panel recycling actually represents a massive market opportunity for anybody who wants to take the dive in and figure out a more impressive process for it. According to the Department of Energy, there are only 7 active solar panel recycling operations in the United States here, and the biggest one tops out about 500 megawatts DC per year in capacity. Now, for context on that side, the United States actually installs multiple gigawatts worth of capacity every year, so only being able to recycle 500 megawatts is really not going to be enough, and so we need more and more of those plants to be able to open up with even greater scale and capacity. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, the value of recoverable materials from solar panels by 2030 is going to be close to $450 million. And since we know that most of the United States panels are going to be hitting their end of life by 2050, that number is only going to continually exponentially grow. So the market opportunity is absolutely huge for some of these existing operations to get more efficient and for new operations to show up and even increase the efficiency in those processes. So where can these processes be improved and the efficiency increased? Well, a lot of this is going to happen as more capacity for recycling panels even opens up. As there's more competition in that market and there's more money involved in it, people are going to continue innovating ways to make this even better. Personally, I think one of the most intriguing places for efficiency upgrades here is going to be in figuring out the recycled silicon material. Now, it can be melted down and tried to put into new wafers, but I'd be really interested to see if you could possibly make a recycled solar panel. Maybe these would be physically larger than other panels, or could even be used of 100% recycled material. I think this might be huge for the industry because if you were able to have, let's say, a completely 100% recycled solar panel, that could maybe come at a significant markdown from your newer solar panels. Now, they would have to make sure that there's not some sort of large drop in production or efficiency or any kind of issues on that side. But if you could get something that was, of course, being recycled, probably not producing as much energy as something brand new, but produced a really good amount of energy at an amazing price, that has a chance to completely upend the market. Another place that there really does need to be some care given into is, of course, in the toxic materials. With materials like lead heavily present in solar panels, we need to make sure that there's ways that we can remove that toxic material so it doesn't all end up in landfills. Overall, the recycling industry is still evolving and will continue to evolve and be an absolutely massive market opportunity for whoever wants to jump in and take the case there. The power of recycling solar panels is absolutely undeniable and a major part of the green economy of the future. We need to continue increasing the efficiencies of this operation so that we can continue to call ourselves a truly sustainable industry.